Navya, good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Navya. Good morning, Anushka. Good morning, Aman. Good morning, Aarti. So, I'm going to start, dear students. Good morning, Pratik. Good morning, dear students. Navya, good morning. Anushka, Aman, Aarti, Pratik, Rushi. All of you, please try to come a bit earlier, okay? Because we have already lost 10 minutes, okay? So I don't want to lose out any time because hardly we are getting 40 minutes to teach. Therefore, please be on time, okay? Please be on time so that we can complete the chapter quickly, okay? Otherwise, because 11:50 another class is scheduled, therefore before 11:50 I've got to wind up my class, and it's important to have at least 40 minutes of class every day. So please do come sharp at 11 o'clock, okay? 2-3 minutes here and there is okay, but try to be online positively by 11:05, okay? Sanuvar, good morning. Rushi, good morning. Okay, so let's begin. So dear students, I will just sum up what I taught you in the last class, and then we'll just start with the text, okay? So you see, identification of the American prisoner of war, okay? Sadao told his wife that the man looked to be an American. The man was a prisoner of war. Hannah cried that he escaped, and that was why he was wounded in the back. Okay, so now they both, Dr. Sadao and his wife Hannah, were able to identify the nationality of the prisoner of war. Okay, it is American prisoner of war. Sadao said that if the man was whole, he could hand him over to the police without difficulty. If the man was whole, means if the man was quite okay, physically okay, but he is not physically okay, he is unconscious, therefore it is not possible for them to hand him over to the government authorities. They have to nurse him back to recovery, and only then they can send him dispatch or hand him over to the police, okay, or the government authorities. But since he was wounded, he hesitated. Hannah also added that they could not throw him back into the sea, so they decided to carry him into the house, okay? So why have they decided? Because they are ethical people, okay? Both Dr. Sadao and Hannah, both were ethical. They had a lot of human values in them. Therefore, they could not simply leave him unconscious on the seashore. Okay, they had brought him. They decided to bring him back to their house so that he is attended properly, and after he is back to recovery, he shall be sent to the government authorities. Okay, now let's find out arrival of the prisoner of war to Sadao's house. The wounded man, you can see here, the wounded man was taken to Sadao's father's bedroom. The wounded man was taken to Sadao's father's bedroom. Hannah hesitated to take out a soft silk quilt as the man was so dirty. Yes, because it would make the quilt would be dirty otherwise. Okay, that is why Hannah was a bit hesitant in taking the quilt initially. Sadao told her that he would better be washed. Okay, Yes, and Sada suggested that as he is very dirty, the American prisoner of war, therefore he should be given a wash actually, okay, he should be given a bath. He told Hannah that if she fetched hot water, he would wash him. Okay, so he instructed Hannah to bring hot water so that he can wash the American prisoner of war. Sadao decided to operate the patient at once, otherwise he would die. Sadao further said that at any rate something must be done with him. Understood? Because the boy is very much, the American prisoner of war is in a critical state. If he is not immediately operated upon, he might die. Therefore, Sada decided to immediately operate the patient. Okay. Next, differences in the minds of Sadao's servants. But when he was brought to the house, there was a lot of kind of suspicion in the minds of the servants. Okay, they thought that Sadao they thought that it was not right for Dr. Sadao to shelter an American prisoner of war, because Americans are the enemies of the Japan. Okay, so Sadao told the two servants about the man. Little bit I can expand. Okay, Sadao told the two servants about the man. The old gardener said that the master should not heal the wound of the man. Okay, so what happened, dear students? You see, Sadao said that when Sadao brought the American prisoner to their house, he had to convince his servants. Okay, so what he said, he told two servants about the man. The old gardener said that the master should not heal the wound of the man. Okay, because they are superstitious, and old gardener says that as Americans are our enemy, therefore Sadao should not attend the American prisoner of war. Okay, therefore he should not heal the wound of the man. The sea caught him and wounded him with her rocks. If he was healed, the gun and the sea would take revenge on him. Understood? Because according to the gardener, the sea and the gun, okay, have wounded the American soldier. Okay, so if the gun and the nature has wounded the American soldier, Sadao has no right to heal the wound, because what nature has done and what the people have done, okay, that is okay for an enemy soldier, and Sadao should not heal the wound of the American soldier. Okay, this is the opinion of the gardener. Yumi is the maid servant actually. Okay, maid servant. So Yumi got stubborn, saying that she should not wash so dirty a man. When Hannah instructed Yumi to wash the American prisoner of war, Yumi became stubborn and she refused to wash such a dirty man like the American prisoner of war. Then she told Yumi that they wanted to bring the white man to his senses so that he could be handed over as a prisoner. Okay, then Yumi refused to wash the American prisoner, so ultimately she left. Okay, she did not wash the American soldier. And then Hannah also had to give explanation to Yumi, okay, because they were very much surprised at the behavior of Dr. Sadao, okay, therefore, and Hannah at the behavior in the sense that, at the fact that fact that they have brought the American prisoner of war back home. Therefore, that is the reason as to why even along with Dr. Sadao, even Hannah had to give explanation to Yumi the reason for which they have brought the American soldiers home. Okay, so here you can see Hannah is also explaining to Yumi that they would hand him over to the authorities once he comes back to the senses. Okay, once he is given initial treatment or first aid. Okay. Hannah washed the American prisoner. So now Hannah volunteered to, had to, not volunteered exactly, Hannah had to wash the American prisoner of war because Yumi declined, or you can say Yumi refused to wash. Okay, Hannah washed the young man. She rose and put the quilt over the man lest he should be chilled. Understood? So Hannah washed the young man. She rose and put the quilt over the man lest he should be chilled. Understood? Sadao asked Hannah to bring in the towels. Sadao told Hannah that she should have to give the man the anesthesia if he needed. He also instructed her how to administer it to the patient. Understood? So this particular part we will read from the text, dear students. Okay, I have recapitulated till here differences in the minds of Sadao's servants, till where we have finished in the last class our reading of the text. So let us go back to the text. Okay, and I will explain you from the text now. Okay, and then while I will recapitulate, I will again go back to the summary part. Okay. Okay, so let's start from here. Okay, you see here. Hannah became very much angry on Yumi, and she said, "Stupid Yumi," she muttered fiercely. "Is this anything but a man, and a wounded, helpless man?" Okay, so wounded, helpless man. In the conviction of her own superiority, she bent impulsively and untied the knotted rugs that kept the white man covered. Okay, dear students, rug means a floor covering of thick woven material. Okay, a floor covering is called rugs. Okay, so what happened? Now Hannah started washing the American prisoner of war because Yumi declined. Okay, refused actually. So in the conviction of her own superiority, she bent impulsively and untied the knotted rugs that kept the white man covered. Okay, when she had his breast bare, she dipped the small clean towel. Okay, after taking off the clothes, okay, she had to dip the small clean towel that Yumi had brought into the steaming hot water and washed his face carefully. The man's skin, though rough with exposure, was of a fine texture and must have been very blonde when he was a child. He must have been very much fair when he was a child. His texture of the skin was very good actually. Okay, and moreover he was very young. Okay, so now you can find that Hannah is washing the cleaning the body of the American soldier, and then then Sadao will take over and operate on the American prisoner of war, so as to recover him, so as to make him back to bring him back to recovery stage. Okay, next let us find out. While she was thinking these thoughts, though not really liking the man better now that he was no longer a child, she kept on washing him until his upper body was quite clean. Okay, until his upper body was quite clean. Okay, because they were very sincere people, so she was doing her duty not out of hatred but out of compassion for human beings. Understood? Out of her kindness, out of her duty as a doctor for a patient here. Understood? So, but she dared not turn him over. She did not dare to turn him over. Okay, where was Sadao? She was looking for Sadao around. Sadao might have gone somewhere outside, so she was looking for Sadao because she was not daring to turn him over. Okay, because he might come back to senses, or might be it is difficult as a woman, okay, to turn him over. Okay, therefore she was waiting for Sadao to turn up. Now her anger was ebbing. Okay, now her anger was ebbing. Ebbing means it was going down. Okay, now Hannah's anger was going down and she was anxious again, and she rose, wiping her hands on the wrong towel. Then, lest the man be chilled, she put the quilt over him. Okay, and then what happened? She did her duty. Okay, she wiped her after she did her duty, she wiped her hands on the towel. Then lest the man be chilled, he was covered with the quilt actually. Okay, because the man is unconscious and he should not be chilled now. Okay, he should not, his body should not become chilled. Okay, otherwise it is a problem. Okay, it is a problem. So he should be kept warm. Therefore a blanket was, or quilt was given over his body so as to keep his body warm. Okay, to Sadao she called softly, and then she called out the name of Sadao. Then you see okay, so you see, while she was thinking these thoughts, though not really liking the man better now that he was no longer a child, she kept on washing him until his upper body was quite clean. Oh, sorry, this is over. Now, he had been, you see, he had been about to come in when she called. He had been about to come in when she called. His hand had been on the door and now he opened it. Okay, now Sadao has come to attend the American prisoner of war. She saw that he had brought his surgeon's emergency bag and that he wore his surgeon's coat. Okay, so he has put on his surgeon's coat now. Okay, so Sadao went out for a while so as to bring his surgeon's emergency bag. Okay, and now he is fully dressed in surgeon's coat. You have decided to operate, she cried. She was asking, have you decided to operate on the patient? Okay, then she said yes. Okay, he said yes. He turned his back to her and unfolded a sterilized towel upon the floor of the tokonoma alcove and put his instruments out upon it. Okay, so he turned his back to her because he had to attend the American prisoner of war. Therefore, he had to turn towards the patient and unfolded a sterilized towel. He has unfolded because he has to keep the equipments there upon the floor of the takonoma alcove and put his instruments out upon the towel. Okay, now fetch towels, he said. He said, you bring towels for me. She went obediently, but how anxious now, to the linen shelves and took out the towels. Okay, so she took out the towels and gave it to Sadao. Okay, she gave it to Sadao. Now let's find out. There ought also to be old pieces of matting so that the blood would not ruin the fine floor covering. Understood? So there ought also to be old pieces of matting so that the blood would not ruin the fine floor covering. Okay, so matting should be laid on the floor so that the floor does not become spilled with blood. She went out to the back veranda where the gardener kept strips of matting with which to project delicate shrubs on cold nights and took an armful of them. But when she went back into the room, she saw this was useless. The blood had already soaked through the packing in the man's wound and had ruined the mat under him. So what happened? You see here, when she went back into the room, she saw this was useless. The blood had already soaked through the packing in the man's wound and had ruined the mat under him, because there was profuse bleeding, okay, from the body of the American prisoner of war. Therefore, it has already destroyed the mat. Okay. Oh, the mat, she cried. Her mat has become spilled with blood. Therefore, she was crying. My mat has gone. Okay. Yes, it is ruined. Yes, it is ruined, Sadao replied. Sadao replied that yes, it is ruined, as though he did not care. He did not care because he was more focused on the operation of the patient. Therefore, he did not care about whether the mat is has become dirty with blood. Understood? He just said yes, it is ruined. Sadao replied as though he did not care. Help me to turn him. Now Sadao commanded to his wife that you please help me to turn him over. She obeyed him without a word, and he began to wash the man's back carefully. Understood? Now Sadao started washing the the back side of American prisoner, okay, because it was also equally dirty. Hannah could not turn him over, therefore it was left actually. Understood? The washing was left out. Therefore, now Sadao is trying to wash his back. Yumi would not wash him, she said. Now, Hannah is reporting to Sadao that Yumi refused to wash him. Okay. Then, did you wash him then? Sadao asked, not stopping for a moment, his swift, concise movements. Okay. Yes, she said, I had to wash because Yumi refused to wash. He did not seem to hear her, but she was used to his absorption when he was at work. He did not seem to hear, but whatever Hannah said, Dr. Sadao did not seem to hear because he was very much involved in his work, and Hannah is very much in the knowledge that whenever Sadao goes to any kind of work or any kind of surgery or anything, he becomes involved with his work, so sometimes he doesn't hear whatever you say. So that is what is the meaning of he did not seem to hear her, but she was used to his absorption when he was at work. She wondered for a moment if it mattered to him what was the body upon which he worked so long, as it was for the work he did so excellently. Okay. Rushi, am I audible? Please let me know if I am audible enough. I am waiting for your response. Rushi, am I audible enough? Sahil, good morning. Okay, thank you, Nabia, thank you so very much. Okay, so you will have to give the anesthetic if he needs it. Okay, now Sadao is instructing Hannah that you need to give the anesthetic if he requires it. Okay, if he requires it. She repeated blankly, but never have I. Means I have never administered an anesthesia to a patient before. Okay, this is what she is saying. It is easy enough, he said, impatient. He said, it is very easy, don't get nervous, it is very easy. Okay, now you see, he was taking out the packing now, and the blood began to flow more quickly. He peered into the wound with the bright surgeon's light fastened on his forehead. So what he did, he peered into the wound. Okay, he was looking into the wound with his surgical light. Okay, on his forehead. He peered into the wound with the bright surgeon's light fastened onto his forehead. You can see here. On his forehead there is a surgical light. Okay, so with the help of which he is examining very carefully the wound. Okay, so the bullet is still there. Now he has come up with the decision that statement that the bullet is still there. He said with full interest. Now I wonder how deep this rock wound is. Okay, and the rock in the sea has also made the wound very much deep. Okay, therefore Sadao is surprised. He is saying, see how much deadly is the rock in the sea, which has made the wound so very much deep. Okay, if it is not too deep, it may be that I can get the bullet. Okay, so if the wound is not too deep, I can easily take the bullet out. Okay, but the bleeding is not superficial. He has lost much blood. Okay, he has lost much blood, and this is a cause of concern for me. You see, at this moment, Hannah choked. At this moment, what happened? Hannah choked. Because might be, she became nervous, so she choked. He looked up and saw her face, the color of sulfur. Okay, don't faint, he said sharply. He did not put down his exploring instrument. If I stop now, the man will surely die. Now he is saying, Sadao is saying, I cannot stop now, even though the wound is very deep, even though the bullet is still there. Even though it's a horrible sight for both of us, but I cannot, I cannot simply stop. At this moment, I have to take the bullet out, otherwise the patient will certainly die at this stage. Therefore, I cannot simply stop the procedure at the moment. Okay, I have got to go ahead and make sure that the bullet is out of his wound. Okay, otherwise the patient will certainly die. She clapped her hands to her mouth and leaped up and ran out of the room. Out of nervousness, out of the horrible sight, she has gone out of the room. Outside in the garden, he heard her retching. Retching means vomiting. But he went on with his work. He did not get disturbed because he had a mission. He wanted to take the bullet out of the wound of the American prisoner of war. It will be better for her to empty her stomach, he thought. He had forgotten that, of course, she had never seen an operation. Okay, Hannah had never seen an operation. It is for the first time that Hannah is with Dr. Sadao when Dr. Sadao was doing surgery. Therefore, she became nervous, she became scared, and such sight, such surgical, such injured wound, and such a gaping hole in the wound, and profuse bleeding and all that had made her very much nervous. But her distress means suffering, and his inability to go to her at once made him impatient and irritable with this man who lay like dead under his knife. Okay, so but what happens? See, even though here Dr. Sadao is feeling a bit angry with that unconscious man here, the American prisoner of war. Why? Because it's because of the American prisoner of war that he cannot go and attend his wife Hannah, because she is now retching, she is not in the best of health. He could have attended her now, but as he is involved with the American prisoner of war, that is the reason as to why he cannot go and attend his wife. That is why he is getting impatient with the American soldier of war, because it is because of him that he is stuck here. He cannot go to attend his wife, okay, because of this man only. Okay, anyway, this is a superficial thinking, nothing to do with his commitment in his profession. Okay, so this man, he thought, there is no reason under heaven why he should live. Understood? He said, he's saying, like, this is the superficial thought actually, but even though he thinks that this man should die or this man should be handed over to the police, but basically he is a good human being, that therefore he is doing his best to recover the patient. Understood? That therefore might be there are some negative thoughts in his mind about the man, but this is all secondary. The primary objective of Sadao, being a good person and committed surgeon, is to bring the patient back to the recovery stage. Understood? So therefore we should ignore such casual statements sometimes on the part of Sadao. Okay, he is human, so sometimes negative thoughts come. Okay, but he does not give in to the negative thoughts. Okay, he is a very positive person, very committed person, and you will find out his commitment, instance of his commitment in this lesson. Okay, you might have got already some instances of his commitment. Okay, you will get some more instances in the succeeding paragraphs. Okay. Unconsciously, this thought made him ruthless, and he proceeded swiftly. In his dream, the man moaned, but Sadao paid no heed except to mutter at him. Okay, but Sadao became very much focused. Okay, focused in his work now, and even though the American prisoner of war was moaning, means saying something blah 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 blah. Okay, in his unconscious state, but Sadao paid no attention to him. Okay, he was focused on his operation, except muttering sometimes at him also. Okay, muttering something to the American prisoner of war. Groan, he muttered. Groan if you like. Groan means you cry if you like. I am not doing this for my own pleasure. In fact, I do not know why I am doing it. Okay, you see, he is getting a bit angry, Dr. Sadao here. He is saying groan, moan, okay, to whatever extent you can. I am not doing surgery of you out of my pleasure. I am doing it out of compulsion, out of humanitarian ground. Okay, I do not know why I am doing it. I am not supposed to heal you because you are an American prisoner of war. This is the superficial thinking thought that has come to his mind. Okay, but as I told you before, as he is a good committed human being, committed doctor, therefore this casual statements here and there should not be taken into consideration. It is just superficial statements on his part. Okay. Anyway, the door opened and there was Hannah again. Again, Hannah reported back to the room. Okay, where is the anesthetic? She was asking in a clear voice, because her husband, Dr. Sadao, instructed her to administer anesthesia to the patient whenever required. Therefore, Hannah has reported back to the room. Okay, and she is inquiring about the anesthesia. Okay, Sadao motioned with his chin. He did not speak. He was motioning with his chin that it is there. It is as well that you came back. It is as well that you came back. Okay, it's good that you came back. Okay, it's good that you came back. Otherwise, it was you were a concern for me. Okay, so it's good that you came back. This fellow is beginning to starve. This fellow is beginning to starve. Means this American prisoner of war is coming back to his senses. Okay, is beginning to starve means he is coming back to his senses. She had the bottle and some cotton in her hand. Understood? But how shall I do it? She asked. How can I administer anesthesia to the American prisoner of war? You demonstrate me. Okay, how to do it? Simply saturate the cotton and hold it near his nostrils. Okay, he's saying you saturate the cotton. Okay, saturate the cotton with anesthesia and hold it near his nostrils. Okay, so that he remains in the state of unconsciousness. He doesn't come back, because I am doing surgery. So if he comes back to senses, then he might cry. Okay, he might not tolerate the pain. Okay, therefore we need to administer anesthesia in his body. Therefore you do one thing. What you do is simply saturate the cotton and hold it near his nostrils, so that he remains unconscious for a longer duration of time. Sadao replied without delaying for one moment the intricate details of his work. Okay, Sadao replied without delaying for one moment the intricate details of his work. Means without delaying means he just replied and came back to his work once again. He did not stay away from his work. He did not escape. Okay, from his work, because he is very committed doctor, and it's the very dire situation now. It's a very emergency situation. If his attention becomes distracted, in that case anything might happen. Okay, therefore he is getting more and more focused now. Okay, when he breathes badly, move it away a little. Okay, if when administering anesthesia on his nostrils, if he breathes badly, means if he breathes in an uneasy manner, then move it little away from his nostrils. Okay, because he might feel discomfort. Okay, therefore if he responds to the anesthesia, like if he starts breathing rapidly or loudly, or if you sense any kind of discomfort from the patient's hand, in that case you take out the anesthesia little away from his nostrils. She crouched close to the sleeping face of the young American. It was a piteously thin face, she thought, and the lips were twisted. The man was suffering whether he knew it or not. Watching him, she wondered if the stories they heard sometimes of the sufferings of prisoners were true. Okay, so they just heard or read in the book, okay, about the suffering that prisoners of war undergo. Okay, but this time they are experiencing, okay, this time they are experiencing because they have a case study in their hands, so they are now able to know more, okay, how a prisoner of war suffers the pain. Okay, because prisoners of war are given extremely bad treatment. Okay, and here this man was shot from the back. Okay, it's the the most cruel form of treatment. Okay, therefore she is empathizing with the condition of the American prisoner of war, although she is not revealing to us, but she is feeling the pain that such an injustice, okay, was meted out to the prisoners of war. So the man was suffering whether he knew it or not. Watching him, she wondered if the stories they heard sometimes of the sufferings of the prisoners were true. Now she was convinced that the stories that she heard about the sufferings of prisoners of war were really true. Okay, because they have got a case in their hand. They came like flickers of rumor told by word of mouth and always contradicted. Okay, such stories of the suffering of such stories of the suffering of prisoners of war came to her like flickers of rumor from mouth to mouth, okay, which were always contradicted. But now that they have a patient in front of them, they are able to understand what kind of suffering do the prisoners of war undergo. Okay, in the newspapers, the reports were always that wherever the Japanese armies went, the people received them gladly with cries of joy at their liberation. Okay, so there is newspapers also. The reports were always that wherever the Japanese armies went, the people received them gladly with cries of joy at their liberation. Okay, whenever the prisoners of war are released, okay, it is a very welcome gesture on the part of the government. Okay, so because prisoners of war have have to suffer a lot, therefore whenever they are released by the enemy country, in that case it's a welcome gesture on the part of the it's like a relief for the government. Okay, but sometimes she remembered such men as General Takima, who at home beat his wife cruelly, though no one mentioned it now that he had fought so victorious a battle in Manchuria. Okay, and General Takima, the ruler of Japan, okay, General Takima was not very much very much kind with his wife. Okay, but besides his personal life, he came out victorious, okay, in the battle in Manchuria. Okay, if a man like that could be so cruel to a woman in his power, would he not be cruel to one like this, for instance? Okay, so she's thinking about General Takima. Okay, if he could be so cruel to his wife, he would be very much cruel to such an enemy prisoner of war. Therefore, she could perceive that if the American prisoner of war is handed over to the authorities, then he might be given a very cruel treatment, a very bad treatment, because the General Takima, can be so cruel to his wife. So you can imagine to what extent he can be cruel to the enemy prisoner of war. Understood? So she hoped anxiously that this young man had not been tortured. It was at this moment that she observed deep red scars on his neck just under the ear. She could observe when she was thinking about all these things, then she could discover that a deep red scars on the neck of the American prisoner of war, just under the ear. Those scars, she murmured, lifting her eyes to Sadao. Okay, but he did not answer because he was already absorbed in his work, okay, in his surgery. Therefore, he did not respond to the statement made by Hana. I could discover some scars also, okay, under his ear. But he did not answer. At this moment, he felt the tip of his instrument strike against something hard. At this moment, what happened? At this moment, Dr. Sadao could feel that the tip of his instrument was striking against something hard. So, what could be that? You can guess. It was the bullet. It was the bullet. Okay, which he could discover now. Now the bullet has been discovered inside the wound. Now Dr. Sadao is likely to take it out very shortly. So this is the meaning of this line. At this moment he felt the tip of his instrument strike against something hard, dangerously near the kidney. My goodness, dangerously near the kidney. Can you imagine? Okay, how penetrating is the wound? Okay, how penetrating is the wound? So now Dr. Sadao will try to take the thing out. Okay, all thought left him. He felt only the purest pleasure. He felt the purest pleasure. Why? Because he was able to identify the bullet. He was able to discover the bullet. Okay, deep inside the wound. Therefore, the pleasure enveloped him. The pleasure clouded him. Okay, his mind was full of pleasure now, because he is going to get success in his operation, in his surgery. He probed with his fingers. Okay, he was trying to investigate with his fingers delicately, familiar with every atom of his human body. Okay, because Sadao was an expert doctor, so every atom, every molecule, everything, he is very much familiar with the body, because he is very much expert in body anatomy. Okay, because he is a surgeon. His old American professor of anatomy had seen to that knowledge. Okay, his old American professor also appreciated Dr. Sadao for his sound knowledge of the body anatomy. Understood? Therefore, Sadao was sometimes trying to probe into the wound with his fingers also very softly. Okay, without damaging any tissue or whatever. Okay. Ignoring of the human body is the surgeon's cardinal sin, sirs. Okay, because a surgeon needs to know each and every nerve, vein, tissues, okay, of the body. Understood? Otherwise, he cannot be called a surgeon. Therefore, if you are ignorant of the human body, this is the surgeon's cardinal sin. Cardinal means very prime sin. Okay. Therefore, if a surgeon is ignorant of each and every part of the body of the patient or a human being for that matter, then it is a sin for a doctor. Okay, it is a sin. It's a prime sin for a doctor, because a doctor is supposed to know every ins and out, okay, of the body organs, body tissues, veins, nerves, etc. of the patient. Okay, so as Sadao is very much expert in the anatomy, okay, part. Therefore, he is having no problem, okay, in even probing with his fingers, okay, delicately. Anyway, to operate without as complete knowledge of the body as if you had made it, anything less than that is murder. Okay, so his anatomy professor used to always say, American anatomy professor used to always say that, okay, to operate on a patient without complete knowledge of the body, okay, is nothing short of committing murder to a patient. Okay, is nothing sort of, because if you have any doubt regarding any part of the body or any particular thing, then it is something like you are doing it on assumption, and you are not supposed to do the operation on assumption. Okay, you have to know each and every anatomy, body organ, okay, everything of the body. Otherwise, it's nothing short of a patient murder. It's nothing short of a murder. So, dear students, my next class is slated or scheduled for 11:50. So, I've got to take leave of all of you, dear students. So, I shall stop here and I shall continue from this page. Remember, dear students, we have to continue page number 35. We've got to continue page number 35. So we shall continue with page number 35. Okay, in the next class, and please do come on time. Okay, please do come on time so that we can study a little more, okay, because we started at 10, therefore we could not continue for a longer duration. So therefore, dear students, please do come on time so that we can finish the lesson off quickly, okay, in another 2 days, okay, because it's a big lesson and it takes time to, to finish. So therefore, you please come on time so that we can have at least additional 10 more minutes, okay, to continue with our lesson. Okay, dear students, thank you so much for your attention, for your online presence, because very few students are present here. Please inform rest of your friends to be online, okay, on time. Otherwise, I've got to contact with your parents if you are not coming online. See, there are many students who are not online. So those who are online, thank you so very much. Please stay connected on every alternate day, and please inform your friends to be online. Otherwise, I will have no alternative but to contact their parents and lodge a complaint against their indifference in attending my online classes. So please do come online and be sincere, okay, and do come at least by 11 or 5, okay. I start by 11 o'clock, but okay, I give you a grace time of 5 minutes, but within 5 minutes you please do come, okay. Thank you so much